light of what's been going on the past few weeks with the senseless and heartless murder of George Floyd and the frustrations that have boiled over into and flooded throughout this world, I want everyone, especially our non-Black counterparts, to keep a few things in mind. Yes, there are protests all over the world. Yes, there are riots in some areas, but there are only a few areas that have actual looting going on. Also keep in mind that in some instances where there are riots and looting, some white protesters felt it necessary to start vandalizing properties and burning buildings. Some felt that they were helping, and others did these things simply because they wanted the real protesters, Black protesters, to take the blame. They are hoping that stereotypes that exist against Black people in this world will be maintained and others will lose focus on what these protests are really about. Unfortunately, some Black people have followed suit and have started looting as well in some areas. It has been well documented throughout the decades that racists will pretend to be protesters only to cause damage to properties and escalate situations to try to taint our causes. Here we have a masked man with an umbrella to hide his identity, breaking the windows of an AutoZone, and then just leaving when he's confronted by protesters. Next, we have some men piling carts and wood to start a fire. We even have a man randomly hammering a sidewalk for no reason. Protesters stop him and hand him over to the police. There is even recent footage of white men pushing Black protesters into cops, hoping that the cops will retaliate and hurt or even kill the Black protesters. How many times do we have to keep seeing our people being killed just for being Black? You can't expect us to just sit and be quiet and do nothing. Comedian Dave Chappelle mentions a South African friend of his who talked about how apartheid ended. His friend said it was chaos in the streets. There were riots and car bombs, but the amount of people caring hit critical mass, and there was nothing they could do to stop it. The people had momentum and apartheid ended. Martin Luther King Jr., the man who some racists are saying would never condone what we're doing today, said, "A riot is the language of the unheard." When he peacefully marched in Selma, the people were met with violence and beatings and clubs and dogs and fire hoses. Black people have been marching and protesting peacefully for over a century. And where has it really gotten us? We marched peacefully and we were beaten. We raised our fists and we were ostracized. We created our own businesses and they were burned to the ground. We created our own organization to protect and feed our people, and the government murdered them. We spoke out and we were assassinated. We kneeled and we lost our jobs. We were even elected president and we were scrutinized and our plans were blocked at every turn. No one knows how hard it is to just be Black. Not just in this country, but in many parts of the world. We don't have the luxury of moving wherever we want or traveling wherever we want and not have to worry about if we will be accepted just because we're Black. When we think of places to travel and move, whether inside or outside of this country, we have to research how Black people are treated in that area. If we want to go to a restaurant, we have to think, wait, are there other Black people there? Simply because we may not be wanted there, or anything can happen to us if it's just us. Think of this scenario. You are a woman, it's maybe 3 a.m. in the worst neighborhood you can think of, and the only way to get home is to walk down this really dark alley where Charles Manson, Ted Bundy, Michael Myers, and Rodney Alcala scattered throughout this alley. That's how it feels to be Black when you have to go into places where no one looks like you. When we're trying to wait for our friends at Starbucks, when we're bird watching, when we're jogging, when we ask for help after being in a car crash, when we're a 12-year-old boy playing with a toy gun, when we're lawfully carrying our gun, when we shop at Walmart, when we're leaving our bachelor party, when we play loud music, when we're asleep in our bed, when we cash a check, when we're watching TV, when we're mentally ill, when we're decorating for a party, when we read a book in our own car, when we're walking with our grandfather, when we're stopped by a cop. In Dave Chappelle's stand-up special, he talks about the murder of Emmett Till and how his mother had the foresight to forgo her own feelings and have an open casket for everyone to see what was done to her son. He says, "If our civil rights movement was a car, this boy's dead body was premium gas." This was a very definitive moment in American history where every thinking and feeling person was like, yuck, we gotta do better than this. And they fought beautifully, and here we all are. He goes on to say, "That murder set in motion a sequence of events that made my wonderful life possible, that made this very night possible." And I say George Floyd's murder has set in motion a sequence of events that will hopefully make a more wonderful world. I know so many of us have been murdered since Emmett Till's murder, but we have made progress. We no longer live like we did during slavery, but those beliefs and hatred from slavery are still alive today. And I hope more progress will be made after this current murder. Some people may be asking, where are the black leaders? You are the black leader. Gone are the Martin Luther King Jr.'s, the Malcolm X's, the Medgar Evers, and the Muhammad Kenyattas. You be the leader. You be the example. Just keep standing up and speaking out. Remember that boycotting is way more effective than anything else. They need our black dollars. This country has always needed black people to succeed. Never forget that. We built this country. We picked the cotton they used to fuel their industries. We were even the first people to sell the seeds to this country centuries before slavery and trade it with the native people here. And our influence can be found throughout every single ancient culture. We are hated because of our greatness. It's feared. Science, math, agriculture, pyramids, seafaring boats, architecture, they all started with us. Remember who you are. We've been persecuted for centuries in this country, centuries. Yet we rise out of the ashes. Yet we still flourish. Slavery, the father of modern gynecology, who operated on slave women while they were still alive. Lynchings, slave breeding, buck breaking, Reconstruction, Jim Crow, the Klan, segregation, desegregation, assassinations, AIDS, the Tuskegee experiment, crack placed in black communities, public housing, school to prison pipeline, cops called on us for no reason, stop and frisk, police brutality. We have overcome all that this country has thrown and keeps throwing at us. Don't get discouraged. Don't lose heart. Don't think that you can't win. Yes, you, my beautiful chocolate queens whose skin can absorb the sun's powerful rays, you can win. Yes, you, my beautiful black boys who just want to grow up to be strong black men, you can win. Yes, my beautiful black girls whose curls can defy gravity, you can win. Yes, my beautiful light-skinned girls who have accepted their blackness, even if others don't see you as black, you can win. Yes, my beautiful black kings who work hard and stand tall, even though you know you have a target on your backs, you can win. You can win. You will win. Now, since I've mentioned two stories from Dave Chappelle, I'll end on this quote from him. Critical mass. That's what we have to hit. Once enough people care, there will be nothing they can do to stop the change. Be the change.